Welcome back everybody, hope you're doing well. Today I want to give you guys an update on the Twinstar Steriliser experiment because I just noticed something very interesting and a little bit confusing as well. Okay, so quick recap. Basically 1 month ago we started a new experiment, and this was an experiment that had been on my list for a very long time because I really wanted to know if these Twinstar sterilizers are really a helpful tool against algae, because according to the Twinstar website it should help prevent all kinds of green algae, diatom algae and blue-green algae as well. Now these devices have been around for a few years already, but honestly I never really felt the need to use them. Also they're quite expensive, so I just didn't really bother with it. Well, it actually just kicked in. So you can see all those tiny oxygen bubbles basically. I can't really explain to you how it's working because it's actually quite a complicated process. I thought that these bubbles are just oxygen, and oxygen helps to promote the growth of beneficial bacteria, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. But yeah, if you really want to know why and how it works, I'll leave some links in the video description. So I've never really used them myself, but I was always curious to know, like, do they really work, you know? So that's what I wanted to test out with this experiment. So I've set up 2 tanks again, both in the exact same way. So both tanks have the same substrate, basically the same hardscape as well. We just have a few rocks and 2 pieces of wood, the same plants. Basically everything is the same apart from the sterilizer. So this tank has a sterilizer and that one doesn't. So let me show you guys what happened in the past 30 days. So here is the current situation in the aquarium with the sterilizer, and here's the current situation in the aquarium without the sterilizer. So as you can see, they both look pretty much identical. This one, however, has a little bit of brown algae on the background over there. There's a little bit of brown algae on the side as well. A little bit of algae on the glass here, might be hard to see. Yeah, you can see on the left side panel here that there's a little bit of algae on the glass. The sterilizer is supposed to work very well against green algae, but there's currently actually quite a lot of green algae on the wood. You can see over there, you can see over there as well. And it actually seems like there's more green algae on this side comparing to on this side. It seems to be that there's more brown algae here. Now it's been about a week since the last update, and since then I have only done 1 water change, just yesterday when I came back. And I mean, the green algae was already there before I left, but it's definitely getting worse. So you could say that in a way the Twinstar Steriliser is not really working, but just wait until you see the other tank. So here's the current situation in the aquarium without the sterilizer. And as you can see, there's quite a bit more algae actually. We also have some brown algae on the glass. So right here, the glass is literally covered in green dust algae, like on all 3 of the sides, on the background as well. But this aquarium, the glass is completely clean, and I haven't cleaned it, guys. Really, I have not cleaned the glass myself. So this is definitely because of the Twinstar Steriliser. So now back to the present time. I think after 1 month I can safely say that the Twinstar Steriliser has definitely been very helpful in the startup phase. I mean, the tank basically didn't get any brown algae, and the glass stayed very clean as well. I mean, there is a little bit of algae on the glass, but it's just such a small amount, it's not even worth mentioning, to be honest. But yeah, the only algae that we did get in this aquarium was the green algae that you saw on the wood. But I think last week I added a few guppies to both tanks and they literally devoured it within like 2 days. So right now, I mean, this aquarium is completely algae free. I mean, now after 1 month, both tanks are completely stable. They have such a large healthy plant mass that I'm not really expecting to see much algae anymore. So we also need to discuss on how we're going to move forward with this experiment. Are we going to keep it running for much longer, or do we just wrap it up because we've kind of seen what happens? That's something we can discuss at the end of this video. Let's first talk about probably the main reason why everybody clicked on this video, my interesting and slightly confusing discovery. So let me show you guys both tanks in a little bit more detail, and then maybe you guys can actually see the difference yourself before I start talking about it. Okay, so I'm curious if you guys saw it as well. So do me a favor, pause the video, then write down in the comments what you think the issue is. And later on we can see if people had the same thoughts or maybe some different ideas. But again, I'm not sure if this issue is caused by the Twinstar Steriliser. I mean, it could be something else, of course, but the sterilizer is the only real difference between these two tanks, so it seems like it could be. If you go back to the Twinstar website, they basically have a whole list of advantages of the sterilizer. So it helps to reduce algae, or it helps to prevent algae, but they also make a statement where they say that the sterilizer can help to promote plant growth. I think they even say by up to 50%, so that's quite a lot. So it's quite a big statement to make. So I was really expecting to see the plants grow faster in here, but it seems like the opposite is true actually. Okay, so here's the aquarium without the sterilizer. And look at this red plant here in the foreground, the Alternanthera mini. I mean, it looks good, right? It looks healthy, has a nice color, nothing wrong with it. Then the same plant in the aquarium with the sterilizer. I mean, it looks different, right? It looks, yeah, the color is different, the leaf shape is different, the leaves look a little bit curled up and some sort of bumps on there. Like, it almost looks like this plant has a nutrient deficiency. Then maybe a little bit less obvious, but the orange stem plant in the middle here, that's the Ludwigia arcuata. Looks really good here, right? Nice color, nice growth, nothing to complain about. And then the aquarium with the sterilizer. I mean, you barely see it. There is some in the background there, but I've planted the same amount of stem plants in this tank as well. Then another one, this green stem plant in the corner here, that's the Rotala Wayanat. Looks really good, looks healthy, good color, good growth, and it's not there yet, but it's almost close to the water surface. And then on this side, it's almost half the size, I would say. There's a small sprig in the foreground here as well. And you can see that the leaves are slightly pinkish. And that tells me that there's also some sort of nutrient deficiency going on here. Okay, let's do one more. The carpet in the foreground, this is the Glossostigma. And it's looking good, right? This is the aquarium without the sterilizer. And we have a dense carpet as well. Everything is looking good, everything is looking vibrant green. The leaves of the Glossostigma are a good size. And over here on this side, it might be a bit more difficult to see, but the leaves of the Glossostigma are much smaller. Actually, I quite like that, it's actually quite nice. But it does indicate that there's something different going on here. Also here in the corner, yeah, it might be hard to see on camera, but some of the leaves of the Glossostigma are almost white. So again, it looks like a nutrient deficiency. So the plants in this aquarium are growing slower and showing some signs of a potential nutrient deficiency. That's something that I really didn't expect. Now in terms of nutrients, I have to admit that I haven't really been dosing much. I mean, both tanks are only a month old and I barely ever dose fertilizer in the first month. Also remember, we have a very nutrient-rich substrate. We used Aquasol as well as pond soil, so there's a lot of nutrients in there in the substrate. So the only thing I've been dosing is a little bit of Masterline Macros. This is the NPK fertilizer. And I've just been dosing very randomly, always just like 1 pump in each tank or 2 pumps in each tank, maybe every other day or every 2 or 3 days, very randomly. So I think the best thing to do is just to run a few tests. So I got my test kit and I'm just going to check the phosphate levels, nitrate levels, iron levels, or whatever I can find really. Okay, so far I've done nitrate and phosphate. So nitrate, both the exact same color, no difference there. Then the phosphate, this one makes no sense whatsoever. The one on the left is of course the tank with the sterilizer, and the one on the right is the tank without the sterilizer. So I would expect this to be, you know, more like this. Then I don't know, could have explained something, but yeah. And let me just do this test one more time just to see if it's accurate. What the hell is happening? Second test and they both exactly the same, but they're not showing any color. Makes no sense. I'm gonna do it one more time and then I'm really done with this. Okay, this is the third time I've tested the phosphate and now it's again pale, so maybe the second time was correct as well. I'm guessing maybe the first test was not good because I didn't wash the lids. You have to shake the bottles and add these lids and they were still a little bit dirty from an earlier test, so maybe that kind of contaminated the first results. I've also tested the iron levels and this is supposed to go pinkish if there is iron in the water column, and again very pale. So it seems like there is absolutely no nutrients in the water column, no nitrate, no phosphate and no iron. Well, to be honest with you, I didn't really expect everything to be zero. I thought there would still be some nutrients in the water column, but I guess it makes sense. I haven't really been dosing much liquid fertilizer. I thought that there would still be some nutrients leaking from the substrate, but I guess not. The question is though, like, what do we do now? I mean, in terms of the algae experiment, the Twinstar Steriliser algae experiment, I think that's done because we don't really have any algae anymore. But yeah, I'm still curious, like what's happening in that aquarium with the reduced plant growth or the slower plant growth and the sort of nutrient deficiency symptoms on the plants. But yeah, I'm just not really sure how to move forward right now. I could of course increase the liquid fertilizer, so like for 1 or 2 weeks be very religious about dosing, so like dose every day, the same amount in both tanks, and then after a week or after 2 weeks do another test and then see if the nutrient levels are different. That could be an option. I was thinking also about the sterilizer. I mean, we've seen the startup phase now, so I was thinking what if we just like grow a ton of algae in both tanks and then see if the Twinstar Steriliser will also help getting rid of algae, because in a way they only promoted that it prevents algae, but does it also get rid of algae? That's what I was curious about as well. Yeah, guys, let me know in the comments what you think of everything that I just showed you. Let me know how we should move forward from now, and then I'll just make a decision based on all your comments. So I guess that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.